Hello and welcome to the third episode of Odd Man Rush for the OilersRig.com. I'm Kelin Flanagan and coming to you today from the Claire Drake Arena. Now this is really exciting for me because my family is a hockey family. Both my younger brothers have played hockey for their entire lives and I pretty much grew up in this arena. When we had particularly good days, I'd get to go across the way to the Students' Union building at the University of Alberta here and get a mini pizza from Pizza Hut if it was especially great. Now the Pizza Hut is long gone, but the barn's still standing, and we still have one of the best hockey teams in the city. So I would like to say first, the Golden Bears games, obviously, I am wearing my Golden Bears gear today. They're one of my favorite teams, former season ticket holder with the face tattoos and everything. And joining us today, it's very exciting, we have Serge Lajoie and Stan Marple, the coach of the Golden Bears and their GM. So Serge, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background?
Well, originally from Bonnyville, Alberta. I grew up playing hockey there and moved away at the age of 14, 15 to pursue hockey, which eventually brought me here to U of A. Played my 5 seasons here. First year was with Coach Claire Drake, and then 4 years under Coach Billy Moores. Moved on to play overseas in Germany. And then when I did come back after retirement, taught for a little bit. Came back into the coaching world as an assistant coach here at U of A for 5 seasons. 5 seasons as a head coach in Nate, and now I'm back here as in my 2nd season as a head coach of the University of Alberta Golden Bears.
That's awesome. We're glad to have you back.
Excited to be back.
And Stan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born in Edmonton, Alberta, and my family moved to Kamloops, BC when I was 12, where I played my minor hockey. I played 5 years of junior, and then I came here to play for the Bears. Serge didn't... he omitted the fact that we played junior 1 year together in St. Albert, so I don't know if he's scarred that year or not. But so anyway, but then I got to play with Serge for 3 more years. He graduated a year earlier than I did, and then I started a year later than him with the Bears, so I played 4 years here. And then I went over to England, where the guys that aren't as skilled as other guys go to play pro hockey. And I had some fun, played there my first year, then got into a coaching role and then a player coaching role and then a head coach GM role. So after 13 years and 2 kids later, I came back in 2007 and I got to work with Serge again. We were both, Serge was the full-time assistant coach with the Bears at that time in 2007, 2008. And I was kind of like... helping the coaching staff as an assistant coach, but not as, I was working full-time as well, so I didn't have as big a role as Serge, but it was a lot of fun. Got to give a little bit back to the program. Then I took 3 years off and pursued a career as a project manager. And then, funnily enough, Serge got the head coaching job at Nate, and then I was asked to take his spot as assistant coach, which I did. For a year, and then head coach for a year with the Bears after Eric Thurston left, and then general manager for, I think this is my 5th year as general manager. So, so it's great to be working with Serge again. We have a long history and, great friendship and good trust between each other.
That's awesome. I'm really, really excited to have both of you here. Obviously, you far outclass me in hockey knowledge, so we'll see how the rest of this discussion goes. All right. So we'll carry on then. As classic as the 3rd episode of any show can be, we're going to start with some hometown hockey with our NHL team. So the Oilers just snapped a 5-game losing streak against Dallas on Saturday night, and they've got a match against the Blackhawks coming up tonight. Connor McDavid got his first career hat trick, which took him long enough, for everyone waiting. Now I don't think the Oilers look too much different than they have in most of their games recently. I think they've been consistently playing a little bit better than the scores have been showing, with some rough patches. But in Dallas, it seems like they kind of just leaned into that and started scoring off the other players for some of the notes instead. So the power play is still coming up short. Our penalty kill is still doing really well. Overall, what do you guys think of the Oilers this year?
Well, I feel that they're playing a much more complete game. You can see that there's been a strong influence with Todd McLellan and his staff. We're familiar with Ian Herbers, and we know that I'm sure that he has a strong influence as well in terms of how they want to play the game. I really like their game. I know that they're always in it. They play a fast pace. They're a good support game. The NHL, it's just like, to a certain extent similar to ours. There's a lot of parity in the league. You have to come ready to play for a full 60, and small mistakes can sometimes end in the back of your net. So I think overall it's very encouraging. I know I have a particular high interest in watching the team right now because very familiar with Matt Benning, and excited to see a young prospect like Matt doing so well on the point. So they're an exciting team to watch.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Stan?
Yeah, I think Peter did a good job of making them more competitive in all positions. So it just seems like there's more competition for ice time, more competition for spots. And I think also, the team's bigger, stronger. They play a heavier game, which in the division they're in, they really needed. So, yeah, I think, there's tons of potential. They got some great young prospects. Connor obviously, but on defense, Darnell Nurse has really stepped up his game this year, and Clefbaum's playing well. So there's a real bright future there, and I think the future's now for them. I think they have a great opportunity to make the playoffs, and they get things back on track and get rid of a few little errors and just get ready to play right off the hop, and for 60 minutes they'll be fine.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would agree. I think it's really nice to hear some optimism from you, from both of your perspectives. There's a lot of division, of course, in fan culture always over the Oilers. We're all so intense about it. It's very easy to get discouraged when you see a couple games going down the tubes. And now you mentioned Todd McLellan, so that's something I'd like to touch on. So he just passed his 100 games as the head coach. Both of you can speak to this, having been behind the bench and on the ice. Do you see anything really particular that he's brought to the team so far that's helped them progress?
Well, I would say that it comes with the structure, and the structure within their play, and getting guys to buy into that. I think now there's a little bit more familiarity. Players know what is expected of them, know what the expectations are from Todd and his coaching staff, and there's some familiarity. So, when you're going into your second year now, it's not so much understanding the system, but being able to execute within that system so they can play a fast game. And I think that's the biggest thing. I like to watch whether it's a practice or just the bench management. I know he's a consummate professional. He's surrounded himself with very good people, and I think it complements, as Stan mentioned, what the management has done in terms of bringing in good players. Now Todd and his coaching staff have really good players at various stages of their career. So it's a promising future for the Oilers, and I find it really exciting for this community.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Anything to add?
Yeah, I think the one thing that Todd's brought with him from San Jose is accountability. He's a no-nonsense kind of guy. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. He tells it the way it is, and I think the team's responded positively to that. And I think he also has a little bit more flexibility and in his lineup in regards to perhaps sit some guys out that aren't playing the way they need to play. Serge talked about structure and the way he wants them to play, and if you want to win, you can't take shortcuts. So I think we're seeing them all play a more complete game, and it starts with accountability, and Todd and his coaching staff are doing a good job in that regard.
Yeah, now you mentioned that he was not afraid to sit players out. So one of those we saw recently was Pouliot getting sat for the game, but that also paved the way for Drake Giuletta to have his first NHL game. Now he's also made the transition from college hockey to the NHL. Is there anything specific that a player brings with them when they're coming from college hockey rather than junior?
Well, I think first and foremost it's that youthful exuberance, and we're experiencing that here with our young lineup. But I think it's what Drake brings is he's able to compete at the high level. He's able to skate at this level, and I think he fills a need in terms of bringing some speed and some skill up the middle. So the one thing that when you sit out as a player, I know quite often it's looked at as a negative thing, but it's also part of the development. It doesn't matter if you're a first-year player or you're in the 10th year of your career. Like if you're out of the lineup, as Stan said, it's part of that accountability, but it's also part of that development. And this is a team that is developing into a contender, and it's going to require not just the players that are playing game in and game out, but it's going to require the other players to have that attitude that I want to get into the lineup. So it just creates a really competitive, healthy environment.
Yeah, I agree. Competition for spots breeds excellence, and everybody wants to play and do well for their team and for their teammates. And yeah, I think they got a really good thing going right now with the Oilers.
Awesome. All right, so we'll move on to the Golden Bears. How would you characterize your team this year? Now, usually, like the years that I've watched, many years, Bears have always been an excellent team. This year, we've got a 15-5-2 record right now, right? I would highly encourage, just like Sean Wingrave, who's one of our other Oilers Rig staff writers, everybody watching this to come down for as many games as you possibly can. The hockey's phenomenal. What do you guys think of your team this year?
I like it.
Happy?
Yeah. You know what? We're a young team, and Stan has worked very hard, and I was, part of that whole process as well in terms of having to bring in some players to fill in the vacant spots that were left behind from our graduating players. But we brought in some, I think it's important to note, not only good hockey players, but also character people. And, we're still in the young stages. What we've been able to accomplish thus far, we're very encouraged by. But it's, we don't want to be seduced by our record either. There's still a lot of work to be done. But what I can compliment our guys on is they come to practice and to games, and every day they want to get better, and they put in that effort. And, we talked about earlier a competitive environment, but it is very competitive, and guys are pushing themselves and pushing each other to be better, and I think that's the process for success.
Yeah, I mean, we're a very skillful group. A little bit. I would prefer a little bit lower risk, but with the risk comes a reward at times too. So they're scoring goals, and Serge is constantly, and the coaching staff's constantly working with them on the defensive side of their game, and that's been getting better and better, and their puck management's getting better, and so once they mature a little bit more, I think there's a huge room for growth right now, which is really exciting. And even though there's room for that, we're kind of getting the job done right now too. So we got a couple, 4 huge road games coming up here before Christmas, and if we get 3 out of 4, that'd be great. If we get 4 out of 4, that'd be fantastic. So that's the goal, and we'll just take it one game at a time. And Serge and the rest of our coaching staff is doing a great job with this group, and I'm very excited about our possibilities of doing some special things this year.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. All right. So that ends the first part of our video today. Stay tuned for the Shootout speed round coming up next. Welcome to our 3rd ever Shootout. Now, typically we have guests here fighting against each other over a variety of different issues, and then we've asked you to vote on Twitter for who wins. Our past Shootout victors have been Phil Kessel and Connor McDavid, somehow, despite the fact that we had neither of them on our show. So today we're going to try something new and exciting. We're going to get to know our guests through a Shootout speed round, where I'm just going to throw some ridiculous questions at both of our guests, and we'll see what they have to say. We'll have a few minutes, so for you, just think fast, speak fast, because once it's on the internet, it's pretty much true. So we'll have Stan answer first for each question.
I'm nervous. This is my first Shootout ever.
And now just remember, there's no stupid answers. There are some stupid questions, so that'll take the pressure off.
Sounds good.
Everyone ready to go?
Oui.
Okay. First things first, who's your favorite Oiler of all time?
Ian Herbers. No, really, Wayne Gretzky. Ian's second.
Ian's second.
Jason Strudwick.
Awesome. Now, if both of you were to play one-on-one right now, who would win?
I'm more skilled.
I would win the one-on-one battles.
Absolutely. So we can test that out after, right? You have
Sure.
tons of time. If you could have dinner with any hockey personality, who would you pick?
Mark Recchi.
Shea Weber.
Favorite practice drill to make your players do?
One-on-one out of the corners.
D-transition.
Would they agree with that?
No.
Yes.
Absolutely. If you were promoting a product like all the famous players, what would you pick to promote?
Beer.
Gratian formula.
Ooh. Who's going to be the Stanley Cup winner this year?
That's a tough one. Washington Capitals.
Les Canadiens de Montréal.
Gotta support it. Which NHLer would you least like to get in a fight with?
Present or past?
Present.
Probably Patrick Maroon.
There's still some fighting in the NHL now? Jeez, current guys. Johnny Gaudreau.
Fair enough. What is the hardest thing about going from being a player to being behind the bench?
You're not in the thick of things. You're not in the battle with the boys, and it's just more fun to play, obviously.
Patience and controlled emotion.
You don't have that as a player?
It's tough to control that as a coach. You have to learn that.
Oh, got it. Who taught you the most about your coaching?
Bill Moores and Claire Drake.
Bill Morris, Claire Drake.
Awesome. Good building to be saying that in. Oilers making the playoffs this year, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yay, optimists. Predict the future tonight. What do you think the Oilers-Blackhawks score is going to be?
4-1 Oilers.
4-3 Oilers.
Exciting. And who is the best hockey team in Edmonton?
Well, I'm a little bit biased, but I'll have to say the University of Alberta Golden Bears.
I'll have to agree.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for participating in the shootout.
No problem.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So thank you very much for tuning in. Don't worry, we will put some kind of poll up on Twitter so that an NHL player who was not here can still win the shootout. But in the meantime, if you have a question you'd like to see coming up on the show in the future, please feel free to tweet us at the Oilers Rig. Find us on Facebook, comment, email us, anything you'd like. We're usually around the internet crying or cheering somewhere. I'm Kelin Flanagan, coming to you almost live for the OilersRig.com with Odd Man Rush, and we'll see you next time.